I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they gotta open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about it is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the door's open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you
It's Monday.
Support National Action Network. Go to
April
www.nationalactionnetwork.net.
Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. And welcome to you listening on Sirius XM 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network in corporate headquarters in New York. And for the next 3 hours, it is Hot Button Monday. Hot Button Monday. Hot Button Monday is when you can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind, whatever's in your heart. Something happened over the weekend and you said, man, I want to talk about that. I don't believe that happened. How do we deal with this? How can I be heard? Well, call me and talk to the nation at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Or you can write on the message board and say what you want. I'll read it on the air. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and go to live stream, nationalactionnetwork.net. Hi, Reverend Sharpton. I'm reading the message board right now. Hi, this is Deborah from North Carolina. I want to ask why Reverend wasn't at your convention in April. Also needs Hakeem Jeffries and others to do town hall meetings. Well, Hakeem Jeffries was there, and yes, I think all of the members of Congress should be at our convention, and I'm sorry that they all should do town hall meetings. I agree with that. Taylor Indra. Taylor Indra said, love you so much, Mr. Reverend Al Sharpton. Love you back. Thank you for that. I need that. James Thomas is saying, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton and everyone, and happy Hot Button Monday. We don't need a ballroom. We need action, y'all. Keep your eyes on the prize. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to talk about that a while today. Let me start it now since he breached the subject. Saturday night, White House Correspondents' Dinner. Now, for the last, I would say 25 years, I would attend the dinner, maybe miss one or two in 25 years. I never will forget Lyndon Johnson Rice, who was the owner of Ebony Jet magazine, inherited it from her father, John Johnson, invited me to be their guest in the late 90s while Clinton was still president, and I've been going ever since. This was even before I had a radio show, before I had a TV show. And all the top correspondents would be there and the president would come. And I might have maybe missed one 25 years. But for whatever reason, and I might have said it on the air, I believe I did, I said, I'm not going this year because Trump wouldn't go the last time he was president, all 4 years. I was there the night that President Obama was there as president and took has said some of his jokes on Trump. People say that's the night Trump got mad and said he was going to run for president. I was about 3 tables from Trump, and you could see him turn red. You know, most people, you tell a joke on them. I've had them done on me by the best. Everybody that you could think of have done jokes on me, including Saturday Night Live. It's funny, laugh. Keepin, all of them have done jokes. Keepin has played me on TV. It's a joke. He was furious. I was there that night. So I said, look, I'm not going there. He's finally coming. Wouldn't come when he was president the first time. So he's only going to get up there and attack the press and call people names. And if he calls my name, as he's, put on Truth Social a couple times, all the press going to want me to answer. And I don't see anything that is resolved by me getting into a back and forth with him. Everybody know I think he's a bigot and a racist and is doing other things detrimental to the country. What I need to give him that for? Y'all got it. MS Now had tables. They call, you want to go? No, I'm not going. Did the rally Saturday morning, had some meetings Saturday afternoon, did my show, Politics Nation, from New York, and went and met some friends that were planning a project that I had some input in. Got home and saw this violence break out at the Correspondents' Dinner. Now, let me say this. I condone no violence from nobody for no reason. I disagree vehemently with Donald Trump, but every time there has been an assassination attempt against him, I've said it's wrong and give my sympathy and prayers. I'm not going to become like the people we fighting, because then you set a stage for the survival of the strongest rather than the righteous. So I don't condone violence. And this young man allegedly had a high-powered rifle, traveled by train, intended to hurt some of Trump's, according to the screed that they say he sent his family, some of Trump's cabinet members. Well, one, if you're angry as I am about the policies and the laws and the reckless disregard for human beings, you don't become as savage as them. But secondly, for those that don't believe in nonviolence like me, and you got that right, there is not even a good strategy. Because if you shot 2 or 3 people, God forbid, they're only going to replace them with some more right-wingers, and you now have given them sympathies because you made them martyrs. So what is the point? Not only is violence morally wrong, it is unfeasible as a strategy, because you're only going to replace, if you shot the secretary or something, with another secretary or something. Trump going to put somebody else there. And now the whole country that is now starting to poll against Trump will turn around and start sympathizing because you're making them martyrs. So as much as I'm against Trump, I'm against any violent attack. And I do not celebrate at all with what happened on Saturday night. Let me start with that. And I'll take your feedback, pro or con. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or go on the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net and post your message, or you can go to nationalactionnetwork.net, as I said. Now, and Georgia Alford is on the board saying, you are genuinely correct, but violence is not the solution. And that's all I'm saying. It makes us become what we fighting, and it gives them sympathy. Valerie Black Valerie Block Romero says, we chose nonviolence too. Okay. All right, let's get ready. There are other issues to talk about today, and we can talk about that. Iran is supposed to have called the Trump folks, and they're now making another offer to end this war, while Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, is hosting the Iranian foreign minister. So this is getting pretty thick. And then we see that the court in Virginia that blocked the election of the people. I had the Attorney General of Virginia on Politics Nation on Saturday. They're going into court this morning to appeal it so that the election stands and the choice of the people stands. And we'll be watching those hearings and hope for an expedited verdict so that they can go on with the election with the new seats that people voted for. So it's a lot to talk about. All you have to do is call me at 1-877-532-5797 or go on the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net and express yourself. It's Hot Button Monday. Don't hold it back. All that you want to say this weekend, you can say to the whole nation if you call or write in on the message board. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be back after this.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
National Action Network. Power in Action. 35 years of justice, impact, and purpose.
Wow, this is the Saturday after I had done 90 days in federal jail for leading a protest in Vieques, Puerto Rico. And I had went down to join Latino activists that were against the Navy bombings that was exercising Navy bombings that was causing asthma and health effects among the children there. And I was on my way to Saturday rally one Saturday, and I said, if they're going down there protesting that, and they were protesters, they would go out in the Navy base in the field and lay down, and they'd arrest them for being on federal property. And if they were doing that, then I would join them, because many of the Latino leaders went to jail with us protesting Amadou Diallo. I ended up having to do 90 days in federal jail. They transferred me from the federal prison in Puerto Rico, me and 3 others that went. They only got 40 days. They said because had a long sheet that they was of many other civil rights arrests, they gave me 90 days. I had to do 50 by myself. When I got out and went to the Saturday rally, Stephanie Mills, who we'd known each other since we were kids, she was there and sang at the rally that Saturday. That's her singing Home, as soon as I get home. 1, she knew I loved the song, but 2, it was appropriate because I was coming home. And we won that. They closed the Navy base in Vieques, Puerto Rico. You go there now, there's buildings and condos and a little plaque for the 4 of us. They call the Vieques 4. Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life, both historic, strong figures. But if I misused them and listened to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. What I want you to do is be clear on who you are, why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
You're live, Rev.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It is Hot Button Monday. A lot to talk about, and I want to hear it all, get it all, and respond to it all. Don't forget, every Saturday and Sunday, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. This weekend I had, as I said, the State Attorney General of Virginia talking about how they're going to fight to preserve what the voters said they want these new districts, not leaving the Republicans the way they are. I had Congressman Cleo Fields, who is the subject of the voting rights decision we're waiting for at the Supreme Court, saying that his district was made up based on race and they cannot have that anymore. Take Section 2 out of the Voting Rights Act. The Supreme Court or conservative court may just do that. I had him on. I had other senators and governors. I don't waste your time, so watch it, and I try to get people right on the issues that are pertinent. Of course, we dealt with the shooting at the Washington Hilton at the Nationals. The hand and stuff. That happened at the Correspondence Dinner, White House Correspondence Dinner. But that happened after I went off the air Saturday, so I dealt with it Sunday. But don't be a one-issue person. They want us to just talk about this. And it is something to talk about. Somebody tries to kill members of the president's cabinet and all the top media people. But also let's talk about the Voting Rights Act, people's absolute right to vote. Let's also talk about they have not extended the Affordable Care Act. People are getting hit with crazy premiums as I speak. So I'm going to talk about the issue and other issues and have people in that will deal with them. So make sure you watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You know, I was telling friend of mine the other day, August 30th of this year, I will have been hosting this show on MSNBC and MS Now for 15 years and only missed one show. I started 4 years, 5 nights a week, then went to weekends. Only missed one show, and that's because I went to South Africa and the plane landed late, and I finished that show from South Africa. Why? Because I believe in working hard. And I believe if you get an opening, use it as much as you can. And people say, well, you don't go on vacation right now. You do radio every day. You do your TV show on the weekends. You do some TV. I was on Morning Joe this morning. I said, I did not fight to get in position to go somewhere and lay up under a tree and talk about I'm on vacation. I don't hold it against people that do. My family goes and friends and all. I just have enough focus and energy. I do what I do. So I don't down nobody that goes on vacation, but don't down me if I know how to rest and work in my rest or rest in my work. I'll put it that way. Also, you that thank you that came out to the Saturday Action Rally in Harlem at the historic Mother Amy Zion Church. Had a decent crowd there at the rally. And thousands were watching on live stream at National Action Network and on Impact Television and on YouTube/NAN. I looked at the numbers and thousands is going up every week. People from around the world say, I can't get there, but I'm going to watch it on Impact TV, or I'm going to watch it on YouTube, I'm going to watch it on NAN, and we accumulate all the numbers, and I'm happy about it. We're also getting close to our opening of the building we bought just 3 weeks ago now. In fact, the signs are going up already on the building. George Faison, the iconic choreographer, had bought this building 26 years ago. There was a firehouse. It was an arts gallery and theater and all for him. We bought it. Now we do our rallies and our meetings and social and cultural functions out of there. And we're doing a little rehab and be opening hopefully sometime in May, the latest in June. And I've asked people around the country to support us having this so we can pay off the mortgage on it quickly. And I've asked for 100,000 people to give $500, and I'm getting a lot of people sending 500, and then others say I can do 100 now and then 100. However you got to do it. This is our own headquarters that Nana have long after I'm gone. Have a headquarters, a house of justice, not paying rent to nobody. We are turning around gentrification by investing in staying in the Harlem community. And I think that it is the right thing to do. And people talk about young leadership. I want to pass. I got young leaders. I was sitting talking to one this morning when I got from Morning Joe, 35 years old. We're in our college tour, Reverend Cassius Rudolph. I told him, one of y'all, somebody in there will inherit being president. I'm not going to do this forever. But I want y'all to have a debt-free headquarters so you ain't got to get permission from nobody what you're going to do in it, what you're not going to do in it. And you'll always be able to go to the black bank and mortgage, get a second if you need to, keep your finance. You ain't got to cut a deal with city or state or federal money to stay in business. Have some equity. And that's what I'm doing. Nobody gave me that. I'm going to leave that for somebody. And because in 35 years of National Action Network, we never took federal, state, or city money. And private corporations that give money give it to advertise at our convention or to have their people at our dinners. No strings attached. All right, let's get ready to go to the phones. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And I see, what was that? Akeem Smith. Akeem Smith said, Reverend Sharpton, I never forgot what happened in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn with Yusef Hawkins. Yeah, this was a young man, black, got off the wrong train stop, and it was going to Coney Island with his friends to look for a used car, and he got off a stop or two too early in an area that said we don't allow blacks, it's a mobbed up area, and they chased him and shot him and killed him, and the neighbors wouldn't give him up. And I said to his parents, who had called and asked me to help, I said, well, they're trying to act like he might have been out there trying to date a girl out there, a white girl. I said, I know how we can make this real clear. And I led marches out there. And every Saturday, they'd come out using the N-word. Go home, N's go home. And throwing watermelons at us and all. And one Saturday, January 12th, 1991, 35 years ago, white guy ran out the crowd, stuck a knife in my chest. And obviously I survived, didn't hit an artery, didn't hit as close to the heart as we feared, but I had to stay in the hospital 4 or 5 days. And had any of you that ever had surgery, no, you got to learn how to walk again and all. I went through all that. And I still said, I don't blame the guy that stabbed me. I blame y'all that convinced him I didn't have a right to march. He was taught to hate. So I'm against all violence because I've been a victim of it. I had to taste my own blood. So I don't want to see nobody go through that. But I was standing for a cause. I stand against everything just about Donald Trump has said and done. but I refuse to be low enough to celebrate somebody trying to kill him or anybody else. That's the way I believe. Let's take a break. Coming right back. It's Hot Button Monday. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out at Brooklyn. Now I'm down in Tribeca, right next to De Niro. But I'll be hood forever. I'm the new Sinatra. And since I made it here, I can make it anywhere. Yeah, they love me everywhere. I used to cop in Harlem. All of my Dominicanos right there up on Broadway. Pulled me back to that McDonald's. Took it to my stash spot, 560 State Street. Catch me in the kitchen like a Simmons whipping pastry. Cruising down A Street, off-white Lexus. Driving so slow, but BK is from Texas. Me, I'm out that Bed-Stuy, home of that boy Biggie. Now I live on Billboard, and I brought my boys with me. Say what up to Tata, still sipping my top. Sitting courtside, Knicks and Nets give me high five. I be spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
It's so high off the ground, sending for an angel to bring me high. Girl, where did you come from? Got me so undone. Gazing your eyes got me saying, what a beautiful lady. No ifs, ands, or maybes. I'm releasing my heart and it's feeling amazing. There's no one else that matters. You love me, and I won't let you fall, girl.
Don't get it twisted. Everybody hollering loud ain't saying something. We need activists that are at large, but we need those that will continue these institutions and these organizations. If you are what you should be, you don't have to have nobody step aside. People will push you up.
In Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
When they can't kill the dreamer.
Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton time. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. You need to keep it real with Reverend Al Sharpton right here on Uber TV. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Happy 20th anniversary to Reverend Al Sharpton on 20 years of Keeping It Real. 2 decades of truth-telling, fearless advocacy, and keeping the people informed and empowered. Thank you for always speaking power to justice and standing firm for what's right. Here's to 20 years of impact and many more to come.
One step forward and 2 backward. Well, here we are now. The problem is not Trump. The problem is us. We are allowing ourselves to be lowered and our children to feel inferior because you don't have an I am somebody person.
Good night, Rev.
You got our eyes coming out.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. Hot Button Monday. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's start the week off right by going to my dear friend, the beloved Miss Eunice in Chicago, Illinois. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Rev. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You know, Rev, I'm angry at all the shenanigans. And you know something I've been thinking of? You never saw any evidence that Trump was shot on his ear. You never see a scar or anything, but when he came out of the hospital, he had a big bandage over. That's all I remember.
Yeah, I remember also, the bandage.
Yeah, I'm suspect of everything that's happened at this planned correspondence dinner. This is the most corrupt administration. And Trump is always calling someone sick. He needs to be in intensive care, and he has done some of the most egregious things. January 6th, the lies, the cover-ups, and pardon, and he has no respect for his office, and he certainly should not have the nuclear code with his mindset. And I say this, if lying was a religion, he and his cabinet would have the first seat in heaven.
Wow.
And if the young man they arrested at the hotel is guilty, he should have his day in court. But you notice the different treatment. The guy who shot 9 people, I think it was in Carolina, was it at the church?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they took him to get hamburgers, a double standard. And why didn't the young man have clothes on? And like Rick in Germany say, I'm done.
All right. All right, Miss Eunice kicked us off. Let me go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio. Demetrius.
Thank you very much, Sharpton. It's always nice speaking to you as usual. I just want to speak on, first of all, bring to attention, the cost for the blockade of Iran and also of Cuba. It's cost billions of dollars every day, and that money could be spent, on health care here in America, lowering prices, on food, and make sure, people have safe streets and so forth here in the city, because the budget been cut so much. But yet, this administration wanted to turn this country into a military state. Donald Trump asked for $3 trillion from the Congress to be turned over to the military. But at the same token, he's not asking for any type of money to go.
Yeah, we've heard the estimate that it's about $2 billion a day in Iran that the United States is spending. $2 billion. So that's why they're asking for this over $1 trillion. But go ahead.
Yes, that's true. And that's not counting, the suffering of other countries around the world because of the blockade that's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. Because their economy is suffering as well. They can't get any oil. They can't get any products that come through the Strait of Hormuz. So that's just showing disrespect for the NATO allies, disrespect for the countries in Asia and Africa. Because the aim of this administration is just to benefit itself and benefit those who want to benefit off the materials of the country where they're trying to conquer. And also, I'd like to mention Donald Trump, because of what happened over the weekend, like he wanted to try to get the Congress or the Department to okay the finishing up the building of the wing of the White House. But I don't believe he should clear off the sympathy of what happened over the weekend, because you have to go through the legal channels to have something historically rebuilt. Because what happened, it could happen even if it was the wing was built. It just could happen in another way. So you can't change the laws when it comes to renovating historical property, or when it comes to even declaring war or levying taxes on the American people, and also terrorists around the world have to go through the proper channel, through the court systems and through the Congress. Can't play off the sympathies of people, to go outside the law, declare war, or to impose any type of unjust laws that's not embedded in the Constitution. And lastly, I'd just like to say that as far as I can tell, the Michael Jackson movie was good this weekend. It was good to see they recounted his younger life, and then concentrate on negativity was being out there by the press. But they did emphasize, his contribution, to the people in the hospitals, his nature of someone who really enjoyed music. And at the same time, his independent streak. He wanted to be an individual and not be his life be dictated. And also emphasize his business mind. He was a business person. He wanted to take control of his career, so he made sure he get paid properly and not be dominated by anyone outside of his own beliefs. But at the same time, he did want to have strong ties with his family. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure he was an individual man. Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Let me speak.
All right. All right. Thank you for your call. Let's get ready to take a break. I don't want to break up somebody else. Oh no, we got a minute. Let's go to Tyrone in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Tyrone.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. I'll be glad to hold through break, because I got a boatload for you there. But I'll try to be so. It's good to be in your presence again. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Blessed, joyful, grateful, thankful, Lord. Please do say to Miss hi to Dominique for me, Ashley and grandson.
Yes, sir.
I want to say to all the mothers and mothers to be, the respect to the respect and honors to the young man, very respectful young man answering the phone there, Mr. Bryan, as well. So blessed and joyous Mother's Day to everybody early in the country and around the world there. But I wanted to say, let me start with that, and then I wanted to, Miss Eunice, is always good to hear from you, and Brother Rick over in Germany, hope you're doing well as well. Let me start, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you, Stevie Wonder, because, yeah, it does appear to me that man hasn't gotten any wiser. I don't know. I tell you, I'll go all the way back as far as to Lincoln, you know. You got elite forces such as, just let me know when you need me to hold on. I'll hold on for you. But for the military, you got the Navy SEALs. You got the Green Beret Airborne Rangers. Those are elite forces there. And you got special comp units as well. Now, for Kennedy, you had all those municipalities and all those different agencies working together, but they still couldn't get it right. Chuck Norris here, Walker Texas Rangers, are supposed to be some of the elite, even though they're on horseback and some in jeeps and stuff. But still, Mr. Kennedy got his life taken away from him there because of, you know, agencies and municipalities stepped on each other's toes and got in each other's way there. Once you sweep something, you put stationary people in place there so those grounds aren't lost there. So whatever took place down in Dallas there that allowed that to take place there, somebody dropped the ball, fumbled there. They should know a lot about that with the Dallas Cowgirls or Cowboys, whatever they're fumbling, because it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. And as far as Lincoln, well, same thing. Somebody should have been posted at that door there, and Lincoln should have had one on each side of him in the theater there. That wouldn't have happened. So not only has man not only gotten any wiser, but man seems to be falling real short on how smart he is as well. So with that, I didn't want to suck all the air out the show there, but I'll talk with you again shortly there. But I just wanted to drop that little bit with you there and share that with you. Always good to hear from Miss Eunice, Pam, Brother Rick, and some of the others as well. And I'll be in touch. Thank you. God bless. Be blessed. Rainy day here in Milwaukee, by the way. So thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let's see if we can get another one in before the break. You know, I really like people to express themselves, and as the first three callers today did, whether I'm going to agree with them or not is not what's on their mind. What is on their mind is the ability to express themselves. And I think that this is healthy for the community, for the nation, and for the person calling. There's some healing in being able to express yourself and not be able to or forced to stay keeping it in. Let's go to Ruth in Atlanta, Georgia. Ruth, WAOK in Atlanta.
Reverend Sharpton?
Yes. You're on the air.
Oh, you can hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. How have you been? I know I haven't talked to you in a while, but I've lost two of my sisters.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, so am I. But I wanted to know, and I had some other things that I wanted to tell you that I had been involved with back, let's see, I think it was in the 80s or early 90s, that we had a walkathon for God, and my nephew, which is a minister, he helped with that.
Okay.
But God had given me that. He told me, you walk for all different organizations. He said, why can't you have a walkathon for God? And I said, Lord, are you telling me this? I said, I don't want anything of Satan because I don't deal with him. I only deal with you. And he said, I said, you walk for all different organizations. He said, why can't you have a walkathon for God? So we did that. My nephew, my husband, we did that back in the 80s from our church where we used to go to here at Browntown Road, Triumph the Church and Kingdom of God in Christ. We walked from there. We had about 30 people, plus we had the police escort, and we also had a...
Hold 1 minute, Ruth. I got to take my break. I hear the music. I'll hold you over and let you finish. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Hot Button Monday. Be right back.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announced it today. I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history.
I remember I was 12 years old. I was a boy preacher in the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Sheard knew my bishop, Bishop Washington. Bishop Washington, my mother was concerned I was getting into politics. They brought us to Reverend William Jones. His daughter's traveling with us. And Reverend Jones introduced me to Jesse Jackson. I became his youth director in New York at 13. I liked Reverend Jackson because he was a little hipper than the older preachers. He was 27, I was 13 by the time I became youth director. So he was like a father figure to me. When I got about 40, he said, quit calling me father, call me big brother. We went to the car center, and James Meeks and Jesse Jr. and I had dinner with him that night. And that's where he said to us, Al, Meeks, Jesse Jr., y'all are my disciples. And we said disciples. And for years we joked each other. I'd come in the room and Junior said, here's disciple number one. But discipleship meant you carried forth the vision. The next day, he took me on the ferry to Goree Island, Mrs. Jackson. On Goree Island, he showed me where the slave camps were. And I will never forget, he said, Al, you see what that artifact is? I said, what's that? He said, they call it the door of no return. When you go through that door, you either made it to America to slavery, or you died in the Atlantic. The door of no return. But I talked to him about 3 years ago, and I reminded him, I said, remember you brought me to the door of no return? He said, yeah. I said, well, we did return. We returned the President of the United States, Barack Obama. We returned the Vice President, Kamala Harris.
we returned with businessmen. They thought they sent us as slaves. We came back as global liberators. The problem is that too many of us did not join the movements that sponsored us. And there was a breakout in 2024 called Negro Amnesia, where you forgot where you came from and forgot how you got where you got. Therefore, they're trying to take back everything you had.
Letting the joy unfold. I'm living my life like it's golden. 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 Golden. Living my life like it's 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 golden.
Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Young America, hold your head high now. We can win. You must never stop dreaming. Face reality, yes, but don't stop with the way things are. Dream of things as they ought to be. Dream. Face pain, but love, hope, faith, and dreams will help you rise above the pain. Use hope and imagination as weapons of survival and progress, but you keep on dreaming, young America. Dream of peace. Peace is rational and reasonable. War is irrational in this age and unwinnable. Dream of teachers who teach for life and not for living. Dream of doctors who are concerned more about public health than private wealth. Dream of lawyers more concerned about justice and the judgeship. Dream of preachers who are concerned more about prophecy than profiteering. Dream on the high road with sound values. You must never surrender to inequality. Women.
Rev, you know you were right there
From the beginning.
with the stuff that
Yep.
was going on in Brooklyn at
Yep.
that time, at
Yep.
Howard Beach. You
Yep.
were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, and I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. So we've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene yourself,
Yep.
Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now, let me ask a question.
Yep.
What was your weight on that scene?
I probably about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair, man.
Yeah, you had the head on.
Yeah, it was
Denzel, yourself, and Bobby Seale.
Yeah, all in one scene.
And also, there was no cut. We went like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Only Spike could have done that.
It's my brother right here.
My baby.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Brooklyn's in the house.
BK. This organization has been on the front line. People ask me, why do families call us? Because we never leave them. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it?
your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It's Hot Button Monday, and a lot of people calling in, a lot of people on the message board and at nationalactionnetwork.net and I want to go back to the phones and the message, but okay, that's what I was waiting for. And I'm joined, as I am every Monday to kick off the week, the Democratic strategist, founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy, LLC, which is a public relations, advertising, and political consulting firm, the one and only Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
Reverend Al, good to be with you on this very hot button Monday.
Very good to be with you. And I think that, everyone is, of course, talking about the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and of course, other concerns. And I want your thoughts, but what I've said is I'm against violence on either side. I've been a victim of it. And I don't know those that are saying this is suspect or whatever. I am not one to go with conspiracy theories. I think everything ought to be checked out. But I also have a lot of friends that work with me in media that was in that room. When you start shooting, anybody could go. But I don't think anybody, including Trump, I'm not going to lower my standards for them. And for whatever reasons, I've been going for, like I said, the last 25 years, maybe missed one or two. And for whatever reasons, I said, I'm not going this year. Trump's going. He's probably just going to get up there and attack all of the media, all of us with shows, may even call some of our names. I just, do my rally Saturday morning, had meetings, did my TV show, and go home. And then I hear all of this happen. So my position is I'm against political violence. I am absolutely unequivocally against everything Donald Trump has done and stands for, and was that before he went in. But I don't wish violence on anyone. And I had April Ryan on last night. I see Christopher Jeremiah said April Ryan gave a great interview, and she was on my show last night on Politics Nation. And I just think that we must fight, but we must fight holding our standards. The other thing is that we can't get distracted from other significant things. As I speak, the Attorney General of Virginia is in court appealing this judge's ruling that in effect invalidates the people's vote last week, yes, on redistricting. I had the Attorney General of Virginia on the show Saturday. He explained he was going to file their filing. Let's not get caught up on the who shot John or who didn't and what you think, that we miss. This is a significant decision that he's going to appeal to the Virginia Supreme Court to stop this judge from stopping the results of that election. The Republicans started this in Texas by redrawing the lines. They did it with the state legislature. They didn't go to the people and get a referendum. They got it with the legislature. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, answered it with a referendum in California. They voted and answered it, carving up different seats, saying that y'all can do it, we'll do it. Same thing happened in Virginia. We need to watch that. We need to watch what we're doing in terms of the gun violence in our own community and mental health issues. I had Congressman Cleo Fields on last night, who is the congressman where those 8 children were shot down by 7 of them. It was their father, who had shown mental health issues. We need to talk about how we deal with mental health and these issues, as well as Cleo Fields' seat is the seat that's at the heart of the voting rights decision we're yet to hear from the Supreme Court. So I'm just saying, A, I'm against violence. B, I think we cannot get distracted on conspiracy theories or whatever it is and miss the forest for the trees. They don't want us to protect our right to vote. They don't want us to discuss how premiums are skyrocketing because the Affordable Care Act has not been renewed. They don't want us saying you got us in this war in Iran and you can't get us out. You promised no wars to your people because certainly we were not your supporters. You promised no wars. You got in a war that's costing almost $2 billion a day while y'all are talking about cutting entitlements. This is where we need to keep focus. What sayest thou, Antoine Seawright?
Thou shalt say, may the Lord add a blessing to the reading, teaching, and the regurgitating of everything you just said, because that is the gospel truth. Look, Reverend Al, we know that there's so much going on and competing for our time and our attention in the political ecosystem, and that's not on accident. Part of that is on purpose. And so while this investigation plays out and while the legal aspect of whatever happened at Correspondence Dinner plays itself out, there's a system in place to deal with that. We don't agree with political violence. We also do not agree with the posting on social media or the words that come from leaders that may lead to any type of political violence or hinting towards political violence. So I think we should establish ourselves in that regard. Secondly, we also need to evaluate why there was a lack of full maximum security at an event where you had so many leaders from across the ecosystem and who leading the free world. Why did the White House not have maximum security considering the environment, considering that this is the third attempt where guns and i.e. close proximity to President Trump has been involved. Thirdly, I would just say that just because an incident happened at the White House Correspondence Dinner does not justify the talking points for a $40+ billion ballroom. President Trump had an attempted assassination at a rally in Pennsylvania in Republican area, at a golf course in Florida. And so this effort, which we don't know the details yet because the investigation has not played out, does not mean that we need a ballroom. The White House Correspondence Dinner would have not been able to be held in a ballroom at the White House. So I think we've got to clear the air on that regard. But lastly, I just think that we have to reset ourselves and stay focused on the mission. You mentioned Virginia. This is another case in which the President of the United States is trying to overturn the will of the people who expressed themselves at the ballot box. Democrats and Republicans have always agreed that that's how we settle our differences and disputes in this country. I say second time because every time he loses or his effort does not come across first, then he tries to make the effort toxic. And once again, going after mail-in voting, which his illegal executive order is being debated in court. I'd also say while we're on this radio program right now, Ron DeSantis just released a map in Florida that would eliminate 4 Democratic seats that would make the map more difficult for Democrats in November. And so we have to watch that and what that actually means for Florida. They're going to have to figure out some legal maneuvering because of the way the Constitution is set up, and you cannot do mid-year redistricting in the state of Florida. So we'll see how that plays out. So it's a lot going on. And at the same period of time, the things you mentioned, Reverend Al, premiums continue to skyrocket. Farmers continue to go bankrupt. You have hospitals, some of the most intense hospitals who treat the most extreme victims in the country who are closing, as the article in Axios came out just a few hours ago before we started this program. So there's so much going on that we have to stay focused on the main thing.
Yeah, well, you and I are on one accord, and I think that is important. Let me go back to Ruth in Atlanta. She was on hold while I took my break. Ruth?
Yes, sir. I'm still here listening at you too. But anyway, we did have the walkathon for God. My nephew, he had Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a representative from there. And as I said before, a police escort. And after this happened, we prayed, and we was there, praying and singing and going on at the corner, right up. I don't know how many miles it was from the church, and this place called what was the name of that place that we had? It was needed work. Bankhead Courts. That's what. Thank you, Lord. Bankhead Courts. And they needed some work there, but the people place was run down and everything. And after this happened, my nephew called me one day after that, maybe about a month after that, and he said, "Aunt Ruth," I said, "Yes." He said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" He said, "They are fixing up Bankhead Courts." And there was nothing but black people there. And I said, "You say what?" I said, "Oh, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord." We was celebrating, and, with that, they fixed that place up for those people, Rev, after we had that walk with it. And I told him, I said, "God," I said, "you're so good to us, better than we are to ourselves." And that's what I love so much about you, Rev, because you are trying to let the people know rioting and whatever else, just like you all were just saying about evil. God is not about that. He's about us helping one another.
That's right.
And doing for one another. I love it.
I love you. Thank you for your call. I've been missing your calls. Glad to hear you all right. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back.
Breaking news. The issues.
Where in history is this? He said we always go one step forward and two backward. Well, here we are now. The problem is not Trump. The problem is us. We are allowing ourselves to be lowered and our children to feel inferior because you don't have an I am somebody person. You got our artists calling our women bees. Our others calling us niggas. What happened to us? What happened to black and proud? What happened? I'm gonna vote. What happened? Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. What happened to us?
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first and we'll be last. We know who we are. Robert Culp used to do a show with Bill Cosby, I Spy, and he did a documentary on breadbasket, Robert Culp.
Oh, wow.
You need to see that documentary. It's great.
Absolutely.
I lived this. I didn't read this. I lived it. I was there.
You true to this?
I'm true to this.
Not new to this.
I ain't new to this.
Vote to phone Troy.
He was, Jack O'Dell was one of the guys that Kennedy warned Dr. King about. Say he was a communist.
Wow.
Jack O'Dell and Stanley Levinson. And Reverend brought him in. Nobody else in the movement would deal with Jack. Reverend brought him in.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Just us.
Just us.
But there's stories behind all of it. It didn't just happen.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. Beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody.
Come today. I see the Reverend Jesse Jackson is here. Lord, we thank you for the Reverend Jesse Jackson. I see the Honorable Maxine Waters is here. We thank for Maxine Waters. You see the Reverend Al Sharpton is here. We thank
National Action Network. Power in action. 35 years of justice, impact, and purpose.
Wow. This is the Saturday after I had done 90 days in federal jail for leading a protest in Vieques, Puerto Rico. And I had went down to join Latino activists that were against the Navy bombings that was exercising Navy bombings that was causing asthma and health effects among the children there. And I was on my way to Saturday rally one Saturday, and I said, if they're going down there protesting that, and they were protesters, they would go out in the Navy base in the field and lay down, and they'd arrest them for being on federal property. And if they were doing that, then I would join them, because many of the Latino leaders went to jail with us protesting Amadou Diallo. I ended up having to do 90 days in federal jail. They transferred me from the federal prison in Puerto Rico, me and 3 others that went. They only got 40 days. They said because I'd had a long sheet that they was of many other civil rights arrests, they gave me 90 days. I had to do 50 by myself. When I got out and went to the Saturday rally, Stephanie Mills, who we'd known each other since we were kids, she was there and sang at the rally that Saturday. That's her singing Home, as soon as I get home. One, she knew I loved the song, but 2, it was appropriate because I was coming home. And we won that. They closed the Navy base in Vieques, Puerto Rico. You go there now, there's buildings and condos and a little plaque for the 4 of us. They call the Vieques 4.
want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just break. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, you mentioned that Governor DeSantis of Florida just announced he's getting ready to file for new districts in Florida. And this started in Texas, went on to California, as I said, and then on to the vote in Virginia. Tell people the basis of the fight around the redistricting, and from the point of view of the Republicans, why they're doing it, and the point of view of the Democrats, why they're fighting back, one. And secondly, explain the significance of the fight around Cleo Field's seat in Louisiana, who was on Politics Nation last night, in terms of what we're waiting for the Supreme Court. Both of these are voting rights issues of serious consequences.
Well, Reb, let's start with what the Republicans have tried to do to the midterms. What they're trying to do with this redistricting war that started in Texas, where they tried to pick up 4 or 5 seats. We responded in California. They did the same thing in Ohio. We were able to tame them in Ohio. They tried to do the same thing in Nebraska, New Hampshire, Maine. We tamed them there. They then tried to do the same thing in Utah. We actually picked up a seat. Tried to do the same thing in Kansas. That did not work. Tried to do the same thing in Indiana. They were successful in North Carolina, making Don Davis one of the most vulnerable Democrats in the Congress now, redrawing his seat to make it more Republican. So what they tried to do is, if we can't win it the right way, we'll try to do it our way. And in Ohio, I think they say if you can't beat them, you cheat them. And so what they tried to do is to complicate the midterms, to make it more favorable for Donald Trump and the Republicans. So far, we've been able to push back and fight the Brooklyn way by way of Hakeem Jeffries and his leadership. And now here we are having the battle in Florida with this proposed map. As I said before the break, there's some complications from a constitutional standpoint in Florida. However, Democrats are prepared for the fight, and we've dared them to make this fight happen. The reason why this is so important, because if they do it now and they're successful, it's precedent for them to, at any point in time in the calendar year, just decide they're going to redraw seats to exterminate political representation. What we're waiting on with the Supreme Court case, the Cleo Field seat, is going to be consequential for generations in America, because if they're successful in overriding Section 2, that's going to exterminate black political representation across the South. I think it's minimum 17 districts that could be impacted. And if you don't believe me, just listen to my home U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. As soon as the victory happened in Virginia at the redistricting efforts where the people made their voices heard, he said, well, we need to do it in South Carolina. Well, guess what? There's only one Democratic seat in South Carolina. It's a black seat held by Jim Clyburn. So that is the thinking. They want to eliminate not only Democratic representation, but in particular, black representation across the South. The last place to gain political representation at the federal level, which is from the South.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to Joe in Washington, D.C. Joe, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Antoine Seawright.
My fault, Rev. We lost him. Let me clean up the screen real quick.
All right, we lost Joe. Do we have the mayor? Mayor Rodney Jones.
Yep.
Mayor Rodney Jones in Queens, New York. Queensbridge Houses. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, good afternoon, my shepherd. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How you doing?
I'm good. Blessed weekend, rally Saturday and Politics Nation, Saturday and Sunday.
Thank
I
you.
just want to talk about security issue. Security issue, right? I go to VA hospital on 23rd Street, right? So when I get there, after I unload, I put my stuff in a bin, go through the belt, go through security. Then I have to walk through the machine, and then they wand you. So I'm like, that happens at the VA hospital. What happened there? Like, you have the high officials, the president, and all these. What happened there, man?
I think what they're saying is that the accused, the suspect, checked in the hotel the day before, and that he had, according to them, rode the train. So he carried all of the ammunition, guns, and what he had, rifle. So he didn't go through a detector, and you don't go through a detector to check in the hotel. And the next night when the dinner occurred, that he came down, and they do not wand people in the hotel that's staying there until you get ready to go into the dinner if you're a dinner guest. Now, I know in all the years I've gone there, that is basically what I saw. You can come in the hotel because you may be checking in and not going to the dinner. But when you go down or up, what's according to what ballroom they're using, to the dinner, that's where they have the mags and all set up.
All right. Thank you for your clarification, because I didn't understand. I was like, with these high-profile officials, I'm like, how did you just go through all that? But you just laid it down. Thank you, my chef.
Thank you for your call. And see, clarity on that also is that I understand, because I saw several people from MS Now that was at the dinner and got up under the table. And I saw them, this morning when I did Morning Joe, and they were telling me that what they had that was unusual is that they had locked the blocks off all the way around the hotel for 3 or 4 blocks. They had to walk from cars. They couldn't even let cars pull up. But people that had already checked in the hotel didn't have to go through there because they were already in the hotel. They were in their rooms, or they could come in and out showing their key. So that's what kind of threw me off, too. All right. Thank you for your call.
Thank you, my shepherd.
All right.
All right.
And I think, again, Antoine, I think we've got to wait on, if we're interested in this particular case, on all of the evidence to come out. But again, I wouldn't be given to conspiracy theories, though I don't put nothing past these folks. But again, I'm not going to play into that and lose voting rights and lose other things while they have us chasing situations that we don't know. Particularly now they're saying the young man wrote a note to his family saying he did this, he was doing this for different reasons. I think that we've got to be very, very careful not to go for distractions, even at the same time saying that we're opposed to anybody trying to hurt anybody in the political arena or any other arena. You cannot have it both ways. And I've been a victim of political violence. So you can't have morality on one side and insensitivity on the other.
Well, Rev, let me also note that these things are not happening because of Democrats, contrary to what Scott Jennings may have said on CNN Sunday morning show this past week. We've seen the president tweet things. We've seen them say things. We've seen other leaders in the Republican Party say things that hint towards violence, like stand back and stand by. So that's number one. Number two, the point you made and the point we must continue to make about not being distracted is so important. You know why, Rev? Axios. Hospitals that take the sickest patients are closing. Newsweek. New SNAP eligibility rules have reduced the number of recipients on the nation's largest food program. Number three, Washington Post. The Trump administration's move to drop the long-standing recommendation for newborn hepatitis B vaccinations within 24 hours of birth will likely lead to additional infections and millions in added health care costs, new studies show. We can't get distracted, Reverend. Now, Gallup, nearly half of U.S. adults describe the current economic conditions as poor, up from 40% in March. Bloomberg, from food insurance prices, food rising because of extreme weather and turning climate change into a new and growing source of inflation. I don't have to tell you, PBS, 8 out of 10 Americans enrolled in the ACA marketplace covers say that healthcare costs are higher than they were in years previously. That's why we cannot afford to get distracted in this season, Reverend Al.
Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, "The two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born." I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say, you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Don't forget Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. I had two great shows this weekend and tried to do it every weekend to come with things in a bold way that a lot of people won't do on television. Also, you that in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, meet me at the Saturday Action Rally. We are at the historic Mother AME Zion Church, 137th Street, Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and you can come and be there live with me, or you can watch it on Impact Television, www.National Action Network live stream, or you can watch it YouTube/NAN. And we get the numbers, thousands of you tuned in, and we've been getting a lot of ratings with the TV show, but spread the word even more. I want to ask, let me turn the page a minute, Antoine. On a global level, we keep seeing this dance back and forward with the talks in Iran. And at the same time, it's a three-dimensional question. At the same time, you have off and on talks with Iran. 1 minute they near a deal, next minute Iran said they're not meeting, next minute Trump is canceling his delegation, which includes his son-in-law and Witkoff from going. Then at another level, you have Ukraine, who has stayed steadfast and will not stop fighting back, Putin, and Trump always seemed to be sympathetic to Putin, and the update there in terms of what is going on. And then you have King Charles from the United Kingdom visiting this country today for a 4-day visit at a time that Prime Minister Starmer there in England has exchanged some pretty sharp words with President Trump over what is going on in Iran and over what is going on with other issues. And it seems a little awkward on how the king can handle this trip if he's seems to be attacking or in his own body language, let's say, in his own, how he handles Trump in public, or does it look like a repudiation of Prime Minister Starmer? At our National Action Network convention, in our international panel, it was led by Lord Simon Woolley, who is a black activist in in London. In fact, when I met him 35 years ago, they had me come over. He was a young activist as I was, and they had killed a black young teenager in London. They had me lead the marches, and we stayed in touch, and he became an academician and was put on the House of Lords, made him a sir, but he's still an activist. And so I'm quite familiar with a lot of the British political side from the black point of view. And Simon headed our panel, as he has the last several years, with people from Africa and all at our convention. So give me your perspective on those three areas.
The big distraction to the issues we face at home. You cannot go outside your house if the inside of your house is not taken care of. So I think that's important to note. Secondly, I think that the world has figured out what most of us knew ahead of the 2024 and 2016 election. Donald Trump is a at best, embarrassment to the American people on the world stage when it comes to international affairs. But I also think that this president is one who realizes he does not have to face the voters anymore. So, one, this is about enriching himself. Two, this is about a power grab for life after the presidency, whether it's for him or his children or his close associates. Three, I also think this is more about setting a precedent for the type of leaders that he envisioned and others around him envision the United States having in charge once he leaves. And I think that's why Americans, Democrats and Republicans, have to take note of how we're handling all of these crises that continue to pop up and we face as a country, both abroad and at home, because they set very dangerous precedent going forward. As it relates to this war of choice, the Iran war, the president has yet to make a serious case to the American people while we're here. It seems as if we're trying to get back to the very place we started before he got rid of the 2015 Iran nuclear war agreement, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. And give me your take on King Charles's visit.
Well, I think the King Charles visit, more than anything, timing is everything in politics. I think his visit comes at a very interesting time in which we're in the midst of, several international crises that the president is front and center on. I think he, like many other leaders from across the world, do not have any domestic or international confidence in Donald Trump's ability to deal with these crises. So I think the timing of his visit is everything. But like anything else right now, I think what happens after his visit or what happens during his visit is going to tell the true story and how we view his visit in retrospect versus in real time or ahead of the visit.
All right, let's go to Travis. And is this Oklahoma City? Do we have Travis?
I'm a political candidate here in the Oklahoma City area, District 82, and this is my first go-round. I wanted to introduce myself to you.
All right, and what are you running for?
Running for House District.
House District.
House of Representatives. Yes,
and what are your three main reasons for running? What are you offering your voters?
Offering my voters strength in education. In Oklahoma here, we're 50th in education. Strengthen education, mental health and wellness, and public safety.
And how have you laid out a whole platform on how you intend to do something in each of those areas that has not been done or can not be achieved by those that have laid out other proposals?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In fact, you can go to my actual website. It's head HEADD 2026.com. That's head2026.com. And it lays out my whole political agenda.
Have you ever run for office before?
No, sir, I haven't.
And why have you decided now? What motivated you? What hit you? Said you just felt you had to do this?
The climate that we're in, I've always wanted to do it. I just finally found the tenacity to get it done. And the political climate that we're in, I believe that I can make a big change, given the opportunity.
Now, have you been affiliated with any political organization or group, community group, or is this your first endeavor?
This is my actual first endeavor into the whole political arena. I've always been community oriented. I've always put people first. My slogan is people over politics. I'm about the people, not about politics, per se.
All right. Well, we keep us abreast. I'd be interested in seeing what happens. Thank you for your call. And thank you for your call. I never, Antoine, discourage people that want to start. I don't care if they're very young, very old, or in between, to get involved in the process. And as long as they know why they're getting involved, and as long as they are true to the particular ambition that they have. But I also say, if you don't make it, stay involved. And don't just do a one-up and, I didn't get what I wanted, I'm out. Stay involved, build a track record. Then people will know you are about what you say, not just about trying to have a position. And I think it is important. We encourage people to get involved, but they need to stay involved, because unless you run this race a while, you will not learn where the turns and the curves are, because these people are tricky and strategic. I think people do not understand that Donald Trump is as much as he ad-libs and looks extemporaneous, Donald Trump is the result of a well-laid plan. Project 2025 was part of it. Well-laid plan. They are using him to get through some serious policy stuff and serious legal stuff that it will take a couple of decades to undo if we're not careful. Some is already in place. So this is serious, and this is why we need all hands on deck. Let's take a break, Antoine. We'll talk about it on the other side of the break. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI. We supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the Black church, how we deal with Black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass Black march, Black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all No Kings marches and all. But the Black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, Black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award, and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this agreement. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C. We do cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York paper for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attendance convention last year in 2025. It needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you, we need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year. And be focused.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just break. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Let us remember now as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast. It is truly a
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. I'm taking your calls at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. I see Jesse Johnson saying, Reverend Al Sharpton, keep it real. Project 25 was a real deal. Nobody who really told him about it. And I think it was a real deal. I think it's a roadmap on where they wanted to go. And they didn't allow their internal differences to get in the way. You got to remember Stephen Miller and that crowd were young Turks that had these ideas they wanted enacted. They took a 79-year-old man. They didn't talk about, The old folk need to sit down. If Trump was had the star power they needed to get their stuff over, that's what they used. And they won. And we need to be just as smart to know how to take our interests and take the best of whatever we have, the best knife in the drawer, they used to say, to get going on our interests, which includes protecting our voting rights, which includes reparations, which includes the Affordable Care Act to take care of everyone, which includes public education being upgraded and undergirded and teaching all history, on. And, of course, passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the George Floyd Justice and Police Act. We need to be just as committed, multi-generational, and interclass in order to do that. It doesn't take rocket science. They did it. We're smart enough to do it if we just get out of each other's way and form a collective understanding that we all have different roles to play. It's almost like, Antoine, a choir in church. Some sing soprano, some sing alto, some sing bass, some sing tenor. Some can't sing at all. They just move their lips. But it takes all of that to make a choir. And if we can learn to do that, we can overtake these people the next two elections, 26 and 28, and maintain it for a long time as we stay true to the collective agenda. Antoine, as we see Michigan and other states now beginning to host some of your leading Democrats, I see former Vice President Kamala Harris has been in several places since she was with our convention 2 weeks ago. I see Cory Booker's out there. I see Bashir's out there. And I know the DNC had their conference. What are you seeing in terms of energy out there with the DNC? How did they come out of their conference? Toward what goals? And how do you see the state conventions now gearing up when I'm seeing the likes of former Vice President Kamala Harris out there?
Well, Reb, I think the energy is probably amplified and higher than it's been that I've seen in some time for a non-presidential year election cycle. Part of that is people are frustrated with the people in charge. Part of that is people angry, they're confused, and they don't know what to do. So they are displaying their displeasure every chance they get, whether it's at the ballot box or a ballot initiative, whether it's a special election, or whether it's just organizing online, or whether it's just organic organizing within individual communities. I say this with all due respect to the DNC, and I have nothing against the DNC, but I will say this. Black people have always subscribed to this notion that we are pro-value, anti-institution. That's why you can't peg us to any particular institution. I think that's starting to be true across the board now. People are not necessarily bought into the DNC. They may not be bought into the Democratic brand, but they're bought into the idea, and they're bought into people and candidates and causes who want to offer something different, who want to do something different, and who agree that the system has not worked the way it has been working for a very long time. And I think that's why you see the type of energy you see all across the country. That's why in 30 special elections we've had since Donald Trump has taken office, Democrats are either overperformed or won those special elections. I can point to the state Senate seat in Texas, the mayor of Miami. We've won state Senate seats in Iowa. We won races in Virginia, New Jersey, and Ruby Ridge, Georgia, and others. I think that's why you see that type of energy. And I think our party, my party, the Democratic Party, is going to have to get on board with the idea that people may not be pro-Democratic Party, but they're pro our values. Issues divide us, but our values unite us. And I think that's where we've got to learn to lock in and do something different if we want to be successful. As it relates to individuals, I would just say the people who are bought into the idea of a team concept are not worried about 2028. They're worried about what's happening in 2025. We're worried about what's happening in 2026 between now and November. And I think those are the people that are going to be best positioned once we come out of this midterm cycle to be able to have a chance to be a part of a broader discussion for president.
All right, let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Disco Brian in Philadelphia, WURD, Disco Brian.
Rev, Antoine, happy Hot Button Monday, as happy as you can make it. Thank y'all for the just unflinching wisdom every time you speak. I have 2 questions today, if you'll allow it, Rev, and I'm going to be as brief as possible. Since today's topic is about political violence, I wanted to connect that, Rev, to your tweet from Friday about your mayor's veto of the Safe Access to Schools bill. You said in the tweet that protest is a fundamental right, but schools and religious institutions must be protected too, and that every child in every neighborhood deserves protection. And Rev, what really struck me is all the love you got from your Jewish neighbors for tweeting that. And that matters big time, Rev, because we can't only worry about political violence or violence after it happens. We all must worry about intimidation, harassment, and leaving any marginalized community exposed while politicians and influencers hide behind abstract slogans about free speech. So my first question, Rev, is how do we defend protest rights with drawing a hard moral line against intimidation and political violence?
Well, I think that by clearly stating it as you just articulated it and what I said in the tweet, when you open the door for people to use violence against places of worship, then you open the door for them to do it against your house of worship. I have defended black churches that have been accosted, that have been attacked. So I have to hold the same for cathedrals, synagogues, or Muslim mosques. We had a terrible fight here in New York after 9/11. They didn't want a mosque built down by 9/11. By the World Trade Center. So I think that I'm being consistent, that you cannot, in the name of protest, have people violent and threatening people that want to participate in their religious services any more than I would want it at mine. Now, you can protest, and they should be allowed to protest, but they should not be allowed to engage in violence and threats on people entering or worship or leaving or schools. Protest. Nobody protests more than me, but you don't have to be all threatening and violent to make your point.
I love it, Rev. And I want to connect that to another concern I have about your mayor's political judgment. From everything I can verify, Rev, Congressman Dan Goldman, much like Leader Jeffries, has spent his career standing up to Trump. He served as majority counsel in Trump's first impeachment. He's been a consistent pro-democracy voice in Congress, and he was at the NAN convention standing with this beautiful movement. And I guess, I don't know, I think just because he loosely or considers himself a proponent of the state of Israel, like existing, even though he is, as anyone with a conscience is, repulsed by the current leadership in Israel. I'm trying to understand, I'm struggling why Mayor Mamdani has encouraged his friend, Brad Lander, to primary Goldman in New York's 10th district, because it feels to me like Mamdani is choosing friendship and popularity contests over Goldman's actual record, a record you yourself have repeatedly acknowledged.
Well, I acknowledge that Goldman has a good record, and so does Brad Lander. I don't know that Mamdani made or convinced Brad to run. I've not taken a position in that race. Brad Lander was a good controller, did a lot with us, and Goldman's done a lot. I've not taken a position on that. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, see right. Be right back.
In London, yeah. We've got many problems there. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go.
Dice! What's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We've got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive.
Yes, sir.
There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
Tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street.
We have a short visit today, so we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's, of course, that's the slave house. That's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine.
Last time, and we
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave. Right?
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly.
The two people that most influenced my life were from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went for his mother's funeral. Jesse walked me to my mother's casket. From South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James and Jesse.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people from too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started president.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, let me ask you before I go back to the phones. What is, we talked earlier when you came on about Virginia and the appeal today. We talked about, you mentioned about DeSantis starting in Florida. What is the latest on the status of what's going on in South Carolina, the attempt to mess with Congressman Clyburn's seat, and what you think the ultimate income could be or should be?
Well, I think that this legislative session is about to end in South Carolina, so time does not allow for a proposal to do redistricting to make its way through unless there's some special session called, and I don't think the relationship between the governor and Jim Clyburn will allow for that to happen. But I think the broader appeal here about this conversation in South Carolina, after Lindsey Graham's continued call, as other leaders have done, is that they have no problems eliminating any seat, including a historical seat like Jim Clyburn's, if they get their chance to. That's why when you and I talk about the importance of every election cycle and our participation, it's not just our participation at the federal level, it's at the state and local level too, because Congress does not draw the seats. Those seats are drawn at the state legislative level. So you need a governor, you need a House and a Senate at the state level in order to get things done, and in some cases to block these type of things from happening, Reb. So I would not be surprised in the future if there's not some effort to eliminate the 6th congressional district as we know it in South Carolina, and other seats, particularly if this right-wing activist court rule like most people think they're going to rule.
Let's go to Fred in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fred.
Hi, good afternoon, gentlemen. Hey, a question for you guys. First, I just want to make a statement. If you're aware of that, Eric Trump was given a grant by the Pentagon for $24 million.
Yeah, please. I meant to get to that. Please expound upon that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I just want to bring that up. But my question is, if, we win back the House and the Senate, we have a defiant president who, and his administration that's loyal to him, that, they don't care about subpoenas, they don't care about court orders or judges, and whatever wisdom our Supreme Court decided to grant him immunity.
That's somebody's phone. Yeah.
Okay, that's not me. Okay. What steps, and I guess for Antoine, what steps or planning is the Democrat are they doing to rein him in? Because, you know, he has the veto power. He's defiant. He doesn't care. You know, his cabinet members don't, if they tell him not to show up for subpoenas. So I'm just asking, do we have a strategy? And then also past, you know, the midterm, what steps are we planning for if we have another January 6th?
Antoine?
Fire with water every step along the way. I don't want to give you too much deep into our strategy, but what we do know is from a legal perspective, we are fighting every legal battle we can and arming up our resources in order to be prepared for a long-term fight, and all the way around in every aspect of the fight.
Okay, and I understand that as far as strategy, you don't want to show your cards, but I just hope that we're planning for this because he you know, he has 4 years, you know, he has a couple more years to make as much money. You know, it's like a light switch with the straits. You know, he opens it, then the oil prices go down, and whoever knows ahead of time, they're buying up, you know, this or know the stock market is going to change. Then he turns the light off and closes the straight, and the prices go up. So, you know, we got a gangster administration, you know, basically doing what they want. I just, you know, that's my concern is, you know, we can win this, but what to say if we got to remove him from office, you know, what's, you know, as long as they're working on the strategy, we do that. And then the last thing is anybody ever thought about with Project 2025, you know, there's dozens of authors that help composers besides Stephen Miller and so forth. You know, exposing these names with a face and what they do in, you know, in our country, you know, and how they're tied into this project versus financially or, you know, their background as far as corruption and things like that. Because, you know, like they found out a lot of ICE agents, you know, their background, they got issues that they shouldn't be law enforcement or whatever. So just curious of that. And that's my last thing.
All right, thank you for your call. I think Fred raised some interesting points. Clearly, we went over the airwaves, laid out the entire strategy, but I think Fred and our listeners and viewers on the live stream can rest assured there is plans that I know are being put in place, and I know that you're involved in that as well, Antoine. I also think that he raises a good point about another January 6th. And believe me, you must remember, I'll put it this way without betraying whatever I've learned privately. You must remember that in January 6th, Trump was still the president. They had not inaugurated Biden yet. And Trump being the president had certain things he would do and not do that gave free range to those that were his minions that were violent and attacking on the Capitol at that time. We faced the same problem this time, is that if the midterms go against his party, and then the next general election goes against his Republican successor, will they try the same kinds of things? Because he's in charge of the Capitol, the federal officers and all, and tried to pull people back. Now, the Capitol Police rebelled and tried to stop the rioters, and some of them were accosted. So it is I think, in my opinion, there's no out-of-bounds question Fred is asking here. As long as they have the power of government, you must be concerned and you must have a counter strategy ready. And you should learn from what was not prepared last time, because these people are power hungry and will do anything to hold on to power. But we must be even more determined to take these kinds of people out of office and away from having the power over our lives, Antoine?
Yeah, but I think you're right. The great Lou Stokes and Stephen Chubb Jones would always say, you're going to be at the table on the menu. We get to decide, and we get to decide by our votes. And Rev, if people are going to be making decisions about our lives, we need to have the input, because they don't understand our plight. They don't understand our fight. They don't care about our durability. They don't care about our long-term sustainability. If they cared, then they would not have reversed course for 2 or 3 generations since January of this year. And that's why our fight in every single election is so important. That's the only way we make progress and make change in this country, not by marching, not by shouting, not by posting on social media, not by showing up at meetings, but showing up at the ballot box every chance we get.
And knowing that is one of the strategies, but it is the most indispensable strategy, because whether we want to deal with health care, whether we want to deal with economic rights in terms of dealing with our being less employed than everyone else or less business contracts, whether we're dealing with DEI or reparations, it all is going to come down to who is in office that will vote to decide all of this. And anything that does not include that in your setup, then how do you intend to be able to get it? You can't get any of that unless you get a Congress or a Senate or a president that's willing to enact it and they have the majority on their side. Otherwise, you're just spinning wheels, and I don't think we that stupid unless some of us have decided we going to help the other side with distractions. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back. Robert Culp used to do a show with Bill Cosby, I Spy, and he did a documentary on breadbasket, Robert Culp.
Oh, wow.
You need to see that documentary. It's great.
Absolutely.
I lived this. I didn't read this. I was there.
You're true to this.
I'm true to this.
Not new to this.
I ain't new to this.
Walter Von Troy.
He was, Jack O'Dell was one of the guys that Kennedy warned Dr. King about. Say he was a communist. Jack O'Dell and Stanley Levinson. And Reverend brought him in. Nobody else in the movement would deal with Jack. Reverend brought him in. Oh, yeah. Sure. Just us. Just us. But there's stories behind all of it. It didn't just happen.
But I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be an educator, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody.
Come today. I see the Reverend Jesse Jackson is here. Yes. Lord, we thank you for the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Yes. I see the Honorable Maxine Waters is here. Yes. We thank for Maxine Waters. We see the Reverend Sharpton is here. Yes. We thank
Hello, New Orleans. Let me tell you straight. They did not think we could come and be here tonight. They cut budgets and advertising, but one black man, Rich New Dennis, said, I don't care. My families come together every 4th of July weekend, and essence will happen, because that's who we are. Give a big hand to Rich New Dennis for bringing us back. Why do we come? Because the essence of who we are is essential to what made this nation. We built this nation. We made this nation. We created the essential dollars that this nation lives off of. We don't care what bill they pass. We will not back up. We will not back down. We will not give in. We will not be chased out. We don't care who's in the White House. We will organize our house by house. We came over the Middle Passage. We survived slavery. We survived Jim Crow. Don't you give up now. Don't you turn back now. Stand up, black man. Stand up, black woman. Reclaim your dignity. Reclaim your place. So we stand with the Global Black Economic Forum. We stand with Essence Magazine because that's who we are. So don't give in now. Yes, there's some rough days, but we've been through rougher days than this. Yes, Trump is a bad dude, but we beat badder dudes than Trump. So let's party with a purpose, because our rhythm and our music reminds us who we are. Because we can smile through our pain and organize for our gain. Let's stand up and let's celebrate who we are. Thank you, God bless you.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Don't forget to watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday and Sunday. And clearly we're going to be dealing with all these issues. Voting rights, what happens in the court this week in Virginia is going to be vital. We're going to be dealing with what happens in Florida as DeSantis has now come out. And we're going to, again, be dealing with what is going on with the Affordable Care Act. How do we get it back on track? Where we are with Iran by the weekend. I've already started reaching out to put a hold with some senators and governors. Also going to talk about Michael Jackson. A lot of people have gone to see this film on him. I have not. There was some dispute in the families, and I don't get in between the family disputes because I'm pretty close with the entire family. I knew Michael since both of us were teenagers. We were just about 4 or 5 years apart. And in fact, I'm going to post when Michael came up to the House of Justice and spoke at National Action Network. And when he did the big victory tour in '84, he had me do every city as his community affairs chairman. So I knew Michael. I stood with Michael when he was on trial, and Michael came, and when James Brown died, we had a close relationship. I don't know about all the allegations. I know about the Michael I know, and I'm going to talk about that with a surprise guest on Politics Nation this weekend. So don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. You know, I've been blessed, Antoine, to be around some historic artists. You know, James Brown, as everyone knows, like my father. But I was very close to Roberta Flack. I preached her funeral. I was close with Aretha Franklin. I spoke at her funeral. Michael Jackson, I did the eulogy at his funeral and his burial. Isaac Hayes. And I guess I learned a lot of black culture from some of the icons in black culture. And I guess that's how I learned how to do radio and TV too, because I was around people that had a certain stagecraft. And you can't be around these giants. I'm not talking about going meet with them one time. I'm talking about I traveled with them, dealt with them, knew their families. They knew mine. And but these were the people that shaped a thinking and a cultural part of this country that black people used to get through some tough times. Also, don't forget Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, temporary location, Mother AME Zion Church on 137th Street and Lenox Avenue. And I'm so excited. We are just a few weeks away. The architects and plumbers are at our new building right now. George Faison's Firehouse, a legendary person, 5 floors with a theater, and we'll be able to do our rallies, our meetings, our gather, our hubs, our salons, and we'll have poetry reading right in our youth that are on live stream. That's our building. We've already put the sign up, and we'll be moving in there in a few weeks. So watch the rallies Saturday morning. If you're not able to be there, if you're not in the New York area, you can watch at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Impact Television, on our YouTube/NAN channel, or you can go to nationalactionnetwork.net. Let's go to Sky in Richmond, Virginia. Sky.
Yes. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, this is Sky. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I just want to say that when you were speaking about the insurrection on January the 6th, 2021, that's not what's on my mind, but I'm going to just make a quick comment in reference to that. And that I know from your show, I learned, I believe it was from your show, that you stated that the people that was pardoned by Donald Trump, not only that they got released, now they're talking about restoring their voting rights and their weapons, all of that. And then they are able to turn around and sue the federal government to sue them for, I don't know why they could be sued. I'm not sued, but they're going to sue them, and if they win their case, they're going to be awarded $1.5 million. I was just, astonished. It was just, I just couldn't believe that not only Donald Trump freed them, now he's going to allow them to sue the government, and like I stated, get all their rights restored and be able to sue for $1.5 million each one. But what I was calling about is that I was like, okay, what's on my mind is Donald Trump behavior. I want to know, really, has anybody really addressed his mission in life? Like, what's the purpose of him being the president and what he wants to try to achieve in his goal? And what came to my mind is that his loyalty is to the communist regime. And I just feel that, and then something that said, okay, look up communist loyalty. When I pulled that statement, those 2 words up, communist loyalty, it came up, her as Truman. They said in March the 21st, 1947, he signed executive order. The number is 9835. And then the executive order is called the loyalty order, which is designed to root out communist influence in the federal government. I found that just so amazing because his ties with Kim Jong-un, China, and with Putin, Russian, it's like he has that loyalty to them. And I'm not understanding that. And I thought it was ironic that an executive order was created to try to keep communist influence out of the federal government. And so then I'm looking at how he sent out the immigrants. I mean, over like close to 700,000 immigrants left the country and bringing in refugees. A lot of refugees, which have all these vape stores and clothing items and stores, and they're coming into the United States, and they are, to me, okay, you did touch on religion, and which I'm like, I'm not going to condemn anybody's religion, but we are getting a lot of people, they are radical about their religion in the name of, I want to say Allah, if I can say that on your radio station, because they know, they feel like the Messiah has not been born, which is Jesus Christ, but you allow an influx of refugees coming to the United States, and you're sending out the immigrants, and it's just, I'm just so confused to what's everything. And then his son-in-law, Donald Trump, sent him over there to Pakistan, I believe, in direct talk with Iran regarding ceasefire and regional peace. I'm like, what? I thought his son-in-law was a businessman. I didn't know he was a politician. And then, like you stated, yes, it was that race for the redistricting in the state of Virginia. It was kind of close, and then, but the hiccup was it was a lot of judges refusing to let the residents of Virginia know, especially in Henrico and Richmond area, about can we vote, because they waited until like early voting. People was trying to get information, and the judges had not made a decision about what they was going to do with that rezoning, because I'm Democrat and I'm voting yes for it, but we could not do early voting until the day that it was authorized where you could start voting. So, we was able to vote, and it was, people, it was a mixed precinct that I was at, and we had just as many Republican and Democratic that came out, and it was some heated words being exchanged in there because, I'm going like yes to vote, and then the guy was like, no, you mean you want to vote no for it? And it was just a lot of confusion. And now that we won the election, it's trying to be held up in the courts about, I don't know what they're doing. It's just so much confusion about what they're trying to do when the election, the state of Virginia voted yes for the fair.
Yeah, but there's one thing. There's one thing that's not confusing, Sky, and that is, even though it was close, as you say, yes won, which wins the districts, and they're trying to undermine the will of the people. I think that that's clear. And I think that we are seeing these tricks all the time from the right wing. We've just got to keep going and fight. I think that I had the Attorney General from Virginia on Politics Nation with me Saturday night, I believe. He's in court today. He thinks they can win on the merits. We got to fight. Let's never forget, ever forget. They never wanted us to vote in the first place. So if our grandparents and others fought to get us the right to vote against some of them being killed, literally being killed, literally being beaten and tear gas, literally spend the night in jail, all we got to do is get up and go to the polls and keep going to the polls. We'll be ashamed of ourselves if that's too much for us to do when look at the price that was paid to get us the right to vote in the first place. And all of these guys and ladies run around talking about voting don't mean nothing. If it didn't mean nothing, why are they spending all this money and all this time to stop us from voting? If you're lazy and ungrateful, say that, but don't act like people stupid. Nobody spends $1 billion on a political campaign if it don't mean nothing. And don't insult your intelligence by saying something that's stupid.
Yes. Can I say one more thing?
Yep.
Mr. Sharpton, I'm still here. I just want to say, in the situation that occurred over the weekend with Mr. Allen, they were saying I don't know who he was shooting at but they said since he was able to get into that hotel and everything, I wonder, okay, Donald Trump said, oh yeah, I heard he was a really smart guy, but he was stupid because he got caught. With that being said, though, would Donald Trump be considering to pardon him since he pardoned all the 1,500 rioters on January the 6th? I feel like that should be, if he pardoned them when people died, and, I think it was 6 or 7 people that died in that riot overall. So why not try? I know he's not going to do it. I'm just hypothetically speaking about that. But one more thing, I just wish they really would look at her as Truman when he signed that executive order 9835 on March 21st, 1947, and that's about designed to root out communist influence. Because why is Donald Trump so tight with Putin and Kim Jong-un, all these communist people? That needs to be really looked at and examined, and they got an executive order that stated that we need to be careful with your friendship when it comes to a communist party.
I tell you, there's a lot of things that Donald Trump needs to be looked at, but we need the majority of the opposition party, in this case the Democrats, in order to begin that process. If the Democrats win the House, that means there will be a Democrat over Judiciary Committee and other committees that can do exactly what you're talking about, if that is their choice to do. But without them even having the majority, they don't have the option to even entertain what you're talking about. That's why people need to stop running around here discouraging people from voting in the name of their being militant. I don't buy it. Thank you for your call, Scott. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody Reverend Al told you personally. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.